Hello, Philip. How are you, sir? Hopefully, I can be heard. If not, if it's too quiet, we'll turn it up some. We will turn it up. I'm just fixing my Dodgy meter here that was not giving me any readout. Can you hear me? Good, good. Always good to know. You're never quite sure if this stuff's working. Never quite sure. I mean, it looks like it's working on your side. Then the rest of the world's like, yeah, I can't hear you. Well, for all that matters, I think we just leave it there and put it on there. Coca Moose, what's happening, brother? How are you? What time is it over there? Undoubtedly, it's super late. Good evening, Micro, Philip, Coca Moose. How are you guys? I know it's later in those parts of the world. Man, we're almost gonna have to chop this one and add length to it. Whatever, it'll work without it. Let's get some light on. So, continuing from yesterday, the fun mess I find myself with. And we'll check it. I haven't touched it. I literally stacked it up and said, well, I'll get to that when I get to that. Is we had this switch light that had been flushed, put in the toilet and flushed repeatedly. And we got lucky with an ultrasonic cleaning. It turned back on, but it's not fast charging. So let's check our fast charging state. Okay, so it's fairly dead. We did get it to turn on yesterday, but definitely some issues with it. It never kicked up past 0.49. I think it did 0.64 at one point, but that was the most it was willing to do. And that's just a big glare. Solution do you recommend is the best for the ultrasonic? 9:50 p.m. That's getting late. You mean what do I use in an ultrasonic? Probably not what anybody else uses. Let me see if I have any here. Do we still have any? That's a good question. No. Let me pull it up. Pull it up on the screen real quick and show you. think this is the one that we got. I'm not certain. How much is that? That's 27.8 fluid ounces, pack of 1. So 1 US gallon. Here's actually the stuff. I use the simple green, and then I have it mixed. It's not straight simple green. There's quite a 3-to-1. So with distilled water is what I use in it. So probably not the best idea, but that's what I use to do my cleaning, and it shines stuff up, cleans it fairly well. It's not bad. I mean, it's not great with rust, but other stuff it does pretty good. So 3 parts of that, and it's not the you can get a couple different kinds. You can get the industrial cleaner and degreaser kind, and then you can get like the stuff you buy at the store. The all-purpose cleaner, that's not what I used. I didn't use the all-purpose cleaner. I used the industrial cleaner degreaser concentrated. And like I forget how many gallons that ultrasonic is, but we put 3-to-1 in. So 3 gallons of that, 1 gallon of distilled water. That's what I worked that out to. Sounds silly, but it cleans nice. Alright, so we haven't jumped up any. Did we turn on? Yes, okay, so we are on. And now we're at 0.66, and it will 0.67, 64, it's never going to jump over that. And that's a problem. So I have a couple things I'm going to try. I have to get a part out. If I keep hitting my head off that camera, I'm going to stop the stream. I don't want a headache today. So let me look at this box of assorted parts. Let's see what I happen to have. USB-C port. What is that? Full set of screws? Yes, okay. Imagine that. Is that another set of screws? Awesome. And then we have, I believe we have a PI3 or P13 is commonly called, in an M92 chip. We don't have the PI3 chip on this though, but the M92 certainly we do have. We're going to shut it down and try and reflow and give a little bump to the fuel gauge. Check it, and if not, we're going to swap out M92 to see if that brings fast charging back. And beyond that, I don't have any parts in stock. Water damage, one of those to fix. What? Switch light? What happened to it? Do you know? And do you know like the state of it? Did they plug it in, try and charge it, being hopeful that it was going to work, or they didn't plug it in? Like how long it sat water damaged? It's encouraged to open it up. Man, I've never opened one of these. The first one of these I worked on, Switch Lite, was one. It was my son's, and that was a cowboy job. I thought it needed a new digitizer, but it's just a screen protector that was stuck on it that was cracked. But I did get to change out the Joy-Cons on it, and then this one I actually had to open up and tear down. They're much, much different than a Switch. I've been inside many Switches, not many Switch Lites. So what chip are we looking at here, if this thing is going to work? M92T36, that's the one, that's the culprit, that's the one we want. We'll set that off to the side. And just a quick status check. Let's roll to that camera. As you can see, we haven't jumped up to fast charging, so this undoubtedly would take an eternity to charge. We're going to go ahead and power it down, possibly. Corrosion on the daughter board around the battery connector, and I think the screen connector ribbon was damaged. Do you have an ultrasonic, Phil? Or Philip? I don't know which one is your preference for being called. Yeah, you can get some stuff happening with an ultrasonic sometimes. I mean, I think I got extremely lucky and the water damage on this one wasn't bad, but there was rust in quite a few spots on it. Like we had rust on the NAND, like beside it. There was rust somewhere else, I think under the APU shield, and then we had corrosion in quite a few spots. We'll get to the microscope here in a bit. Might actually grab a seat for tearing this down. I don't normally sit, but we might do that today, just for fun. Soak stuff in white vinegar. That's a good way to clean. You can clean like that too. I've done that many a times. There was many, many days, many years before having an ultrasonic. Alright, so let's begin by tearing this Frankenstein build back apart from yesterday. Switch light. I've been trying to catch your videos when you release them, Phil. I like some of the older stuff you're working with, the PlayStations, and did you do you did a couple, was it DS videos? Yeah. I like older consoles like that. They're not as they're complicated, very, but not as complicated as this newer stuff. Let's wake the computer up. Did you die on me? Just thinking, 20 years, Switches will be the older stuff. Oh. Alright, we disconnected that. I don't even know where all these screws are. I've knocked them around so much. We're just gonna pray that we get it. We're gonna pull that back out. That should already be loose from having it apart. I think my last favorite console for just tearing apart, working on in general, like handheld, was the not the Vita so much as the PSP. There were a lot of cool aftermarket parts and mods. Not really mods, just parts and like custom cases, housings that you could do with the PSPs. DS was fairly cool too. No. Go through, unplug all our ribbon cables, and get this Frankenbuild back apart. And just kind of put the bare necessities plus a few extras in to test it. And now we're going to find out if one of two tactics is going to bring back the fast charging. Hopefully it will. Alright, moving on. What else do we have to disconnect from this thing? Speaker, ribbon, and I believe that will be it. I still need, I want to verify this side, just make sure there's no corrosion growing that's going to grow into a problem later down the road for this person. What else is there? What else? What am I missing? What am I going to lift up and find out I didn't disconnect? Hey ho, what's this on my phone? Phone coming in hot. Is it of importance? Oh boy. Kids are selling the subs, hoagies, whatever at school. Awesome. Alright, boards off. What is that covering? It's going to be right on the edge. What chip is that that's covering? This little, it's like a little tacky or silicone pad of some sort. So that would be hitting, yeah, because that cap's right there. It's that chip. Let's see what that chip is right here on this. That chip we were just looking at is right there. No idea. BQ? Okay, so BQ. Why would they have pressure on that? I want to keep that, like, are they cooling it? Is that what that is? Is it cooling? Is it cooling rather than, sorry, rather than keeping it in place pressure-wise? Is it because it's connecting to this inner frame? Perhaps that's what it is, and that's just like the bit of heat transfer pulling it off, because that would, BQ would deal with, that's with charging too, right? It's so hard to see what's on that chip. BQ2124793. Is that the same chip? I'm just wondering, can I pull it off of a switchboard if we decide to go that route and try it? Where is it? BQ24193 T1 and it is so hard to see that one. BQ24. I forget the number on the other one now, damn it. 24193, BQ24193. 2419, yeah. So they look to be the same. Alright, good to know. Yeah, I think it is a thermal pad, Philip, over pressure. Oh, good evening, CG. It's the same? Thank you. Thanks for typing that after I, had to stumble back and forth. I appreciate the help. Oh, alright, so let's find this fuel gauge. Reports of it yesterday. It was located, let's zoom out a little so we can find it. I think it's going to be that one there. We'll flip it upside down. Yeah, that's it. For sure, that's it. gonna go back to standing for a moment. I'm not enjoying sitting down working on this stuff. Has to be it. Correct fuel gauge? I'm not mistaken. It's that there. I think we settled this yesterday. That was it. Bedtime for you, sir. Well, have a good evening. You gotta keep a schedule when you have one. So next question, what damage? What are we actually going to damage working in this area? No plastic, no nothing, just the plastic of the USB-C port, and then we have battery on the other battery connector and that ribbon cable connector for the daughter board on the other side. Let me clean this crap off here now before we end up with thermal finger everywhere. We're going to take a moment and clean it up. Have a good evening, Philip. We'll see you next time, sir. Alright, that should prove to be less thermal finger, thermal glove, incidents all around with some of that out of the way. Alright, and what did I say? I said we're going to go for, where's the other side? Other side, genius. Going to go for nudging that guy. Getting brighter. And so we'll go for nudging that one, see if that helps with fast charging. And then, if that don't work, we're gonna try M92. Alright, let's close that, and go back there and get our gun, or our cheapo. Take it from the OG switch, no need to reball it. What, the fuel gauge? Yeah, I'm just gonna reflow it, see it first to see if that does anything. Sorry about that. That was the boss. The boss was calling. I never reball the fuel gauge, just new tin on it with lots of flux. Yeah, we're just gonna take and throw some flux on this one around it and give it a nudge. There we go. Let's make a mess out of it. Look at that sticky goop. Too much, but that's fine. Take it up a little bit. Are we losing heat? Wait a second here. And let's do something incredibly dumb. Do I already have them out? Yeah, it's not gonna work. We actually got to shut it off. I'm putting a smaller tip on this thing just to localize it more instead of blowing in one big spot, one big area. I want it more around. When stuff gets hot, it expands. We need it to contract. So I can pull that stupid tip off. My old one of those, I liked it a lot more until it caught on fire because I could change the tips when it was hot. Like just grab it with pliers, take it off. But this one just, I don't know if it's the cheaper metal it's made out of or what. But it for sure does not let me change them out. New tin on it, lots of flux, fine. Alright, off. Let's swap it out and get this monster off of here. It's still fairly hot, that's why I'm not trusting it. Even though it shut itself down and went cooler, I know well enough that it's still not near cool enough. So I want you. Here's the guilty party here. Alright, away we go. Ah, you just saw me mow those off there. Damn it. Well, let's put them back. Ah, haha. Put them back, put them back. Come on, heat. Alright, separate, fuel gauge is off. There we go. We're all busted apart. We got hot air. I just want these apart. We're not even in focus for you to see the tragedy. Sorry, I bumped my camera. Let's get back in focus. Alright, so that's in place. I have 2 to put back in place. I'm trying not move the camera again, or the scope. The fuel gauge kind of worked itself back out. It was crooked for a moment. Dude, if you fly up there and connect to something else, I'm gonna get pissed. We're not in focus again? Did I keep leaning on it? See, that's what I wanted to do the first time through, is move the board, not mow components off where they're supposed to go. Longer tweezers, those are too short. I'm burning the hell out of my hands. Yikes, what the hell is on that? You're done for. And thus the reason for a board holder, people. Which I don't have. I'm not intending on getting one. How can I hold this thing down? We need some serious weight. I keep sliding it. Alright, heat on. Give me that stupid resistor. We're still kind of in focus. We're just going to go with it. Come on, Mr. Shaky. Get it. There's one. We got one more to put back right there. That culprit. And then we're going to hit it with hot air and be done with this section. Sure, we'll stand them on end. Lay down. Lay down. can get off of there. Michael. Who else? Phil? 6 or 7 millimeter fine. Where are we at? Nozzle 420. No. Yeah, no, I don't get discouraged, and I'm not working near 420. I work at a much lower heat. That's why it takes longer to get to temp. Good evening, Michael. What? What? What did you do? Did you typo, Michael? Am I missing it? I didn't catch your typo if you did. Alright, let's put this stupid thing back. Then we're going to clean that shit off and try and reflow all that back into nice position. Yeah, no, I'm working, what, low 300s. So it takes a while to heat it up, but I find when it's not something that I have to do daily, I don't destroy stuff as often. And this isn't something that I do very often at all. Shit. Well, if that's loose, we're putting that in place first. And we're just going to hot air it right down, hopefully. If we can get it to not stick to the tweezers that are all fluxed out. He might go right there. We're going to leave him there and let's find out. As long as it doesn't suck into that fuel gauge, I'll be happy. But it probably will. There, sorry I keep smacking my camera. There's 1, 2, 3. He's not square, but we'll count him. Alright, let's give cheapo a break. That's a lot of heat for a long time for a cheap hot air station. If I wasn't wearing gloves, I'd probably chew every one of my fingernails off now. Instead, we're just going to smoke. The fuel gauge has moved and it's back in. Yeah. Did not mean put Phil. Phil was here. Philip Bryden. Hi, Phil in chat. Oh, you meant Codger? That Phil? No, it was Philip Bryden that was here. Yeah, I saw that fuel gauge jumped into the right spot too, CG. So, I'm going to let all this cool down. Also, like here, perfect example of the area that we're working in. I'm not saying you couldn't do it, okay? But let's just take a look. Especially on this board, okay? I'm going to try and hold this board without ripping any components off. So here's that whole area, this corner, see? Where we were just blowing all that heat. So see this cutout? We're just going to straight flip it over. You see what's right on the other side of it? Some of the heat could have transferred to this connector, and some could have went to this one, which I think I did hit this with, when I was reflowing it yesterday. I got too close with the hot air, drying it off after the IPA bath. So shame on me. That connector's shot. We need to change it out. It'll never work ever again. But with lower heat, It may take longer to get components to come loose, but it's less likely of a chance that you're going to melt stuff on the other side and drop it off. And that's the lesson I learned from running lower heat versus high heat. And some people can work with high heat and yank components off quick. And possibly if I did this every day, I would. But right now, the guy that does it when I get a job in, I'm going to work with lower heat. Oh. Right, coffee, let that cool. So what's new, people? It's still fairly warm. So I think let it cool for another moment. Also, lower heat, it doesn't take as long for stuff to cool down as when you're blasting at full force, high heat. Back into microscope mode we go. We may need to warm that up a little just to get some of that flux off. Let's find out. Yeah, we're going to have some stuck on there, so let's hit it with a little bit of heat real quick to warm it up, then we'll scrub it. Yeah, too hot. I don't like sizzling. I do not like sizzling. What do we say? How bad is it? How terribly bad is it? All hope lost? This shit ain't never working again or what? Everything is still good on that side, so I say we go with it. We'll let that cool for a moment. I mean, Bell writes as we take and assemble it, we could, it would be cool by the time we got it together. Uh-oh, Phil went live. We have to jump off here and go catch that man repairing stuff. Hi, Travis. Good evening. I didn't see you jump in there. Were you here yesterday to see the massacre we did on this thing? Okay, so we need that out, the battery's out of the way. And we need a few ribbon cables. Hello, whoever you are beeping your horn. What do we think? Are we going to get lucky and that did it? I don't think so. I think it's going to take more than that to get it to fast charge. Alright, ribbon cable is up. Speaker, we have that ribbon cable. We need our antennas, I believe. Yes, 1 and 2. We're in. We have that, those, that. Looks good. Let's plug some stuff up and Frank can build this back together quick. I think I'm going to skip on the button. We don't absolutely need, well, one, we don't need a speaker. Do we need the right buttons for anything? The shoulder button, ZR and R? I don't think so. Getting out of there. Time for me. Bed's calling. Have a good night, CG. Thanks for stopping in and the encouragement. I like positive attitudes. We need more of those in this world. But yeah, have a good rest, man. Have a good rest. what next? We'll do minimal screws. We did 2 fan screws yesterday. Today we're going to do 1, just so it's not flopping about. What else? Game card. I'm not missing anything in the meantime, just that stupid ribbon cable for the right buttons and whatnot. Alright, plug that in. Let's fish this out of here. Alright, there's that. We got battery and that ribbon cable. Let's put a couple screws in just to hold our game card reader in. Alright, 1 screw in the headphone jack, and we'll see if we have fast charging. Hopefully we do. If not, we have one other thing I'm going to try, at least today, and then call it quits on that. So we might have created more problems. So we may need a fuel gauge ripped off. Of course, it is charging, but it's not displaying. Did I not connect something? There. 15.01, 0.45, but we're getting no display. So what did we damage? What did we kill in the meantime? Is it fuel gauge related? Because that's where we were messing, in that area. And you can't see it, sorry. But we have no battery. And we got that instantly before. So let's check our connections. Make sure everything went together okay. I didn't bend a pin on that or that, most importantly. Those are the ones that would be for the the digitizer and the screen, I believe. Digitizer is not really important. I mean, it is, but it's not in this instance. Let's make sure we didn't bend any pins on those ports. They are super easy to bend. Stay together till we get the battery out. I'm going to say this looks like it's 100% in. Let's pull it out and take a look at the pins under the scope, just to make sure we didn't get something on the ribbon cable. We didn't. It's good. We'll take a look at the pins, and then there's this one. I'm not sure which one's which on these as far as the LCD and the digitizer. I think this would be the digitizer. This would be for the screen. Let's take a look. Bright light. We did just flood the fuel gauge with alcohol too. So we got to pull the board out to get to that. I don't know exactly how they work. I do know that if they get wet, they cannot work, I think, is how that works. As far as pins go, we got to raise the scope up to look at it. Every pin on that ribbon cable connector or that socket is good. It's in place where it needs to be. Absolutely nothing wrong there. And we can try and take a look at the cable itself. Looks good. I actually had the last switch I worked on, it was a full-size switch. I believe there's a fuel gauge problem with it. Well, I got it completely soaked and nothing, and then dried it out, and then it turned on and booted, but it wouldn't charge or nothing. So we're going to attempt to add a little warm air to that area. pull this board yet? Mic's on, mic's off. Alright, I hate phone calls coming in, especially ones that you have to answer. It's super annoying, but when you have kids, you're kind of obligated to answer because you never know when it could be an emergency. But when you start treating it like not an emergency, that's when something's bound to happen. So that's why I always try to answer the phone. What am I doing here? Alright, hot air to the fuel gauge. Quickly. Dry it out and then plug this back up and see if we can get it at least charging again. What is that bit of crap right there? Oh yes, there was still some alcohol under there. Or possibly flux. I think I'm going to say alcohol. That boiled way too quick for flux. So let's dry that out just a tad. Or it could be flux. Who knows? One of those. Super hot. Alright. Indoor air conditioning unit. Or in-room AC. Let's throw it back together quick and see what happens. Like that, correct? Yes, no? How's life in the shoes of Nick? You see it, man. How are you, Mr. Rich Sanchez? I'm working on a switch light. And my shoes are awesome. They're like 20-year-old Macbeths. They're super awesome. So that makes, in turn, that makes life more awesome. Just having cool shoes. Boy, we just flung a piece of something, thermal paste, something or other. Probably a piece of the port, who knows? We'll find out when we get there with that too. Alright, so fuel gauge was possibly a little still wet. I'm going to just literally cobble this back together super quick. A couple ribbon cables connected to see if we can get it charging. If it charges, then we get to check if it's fast charging. It probably will not be, that, which means we're going to play around with M92. And I know some people change multiple things at once. I prefer not to do that. I like to know what worked, what didn't. So that's why we're doing many rebuilds in between. I'm not even playing with the antenna wires. Come on already, find a spot and go in it, fan. Game card reader, literally skipping everything. I don't know that it needs this stuff to turn on, but like I said, we're just seeing what's possible. I think the wife and kids are here. I'm gonna run outside quick. Give me a second. Nope. Figment of my imagination. Nobody home. Okay, battery connector, we'll get it partway in place. And connect this ribbon. And this is goofy. I know people say connect the battery, then. Oh, there they are. Give me a moment here. Alright. Sorry about that. Probably dropped everybody, and it did. Or everybody just dropped little by little. Anyhow, let's figure out what the outcome is. I hate people stopping by, but when it's the wife and kids, I gotta take a moment and say hello. They don't come down here often. I always like when they do come down. So, always take that moment and say hello and talk for a minute. Say hi to everybody, because it's cool to have them down here. I realize these aren't necessary, but as I said, I just don't want some stuff flopping around. So we'll put those in. Hopefully we get at least what we had now versus what we didn't have. Let's go ahead and ribbon cables plugged in. Right here. Lock it in place. And then put our battery. Attempt to put our battery in. Battery's in. Looks good. Let's see if we have at least what we had. That's the goal, to get back to where we were. I'm not throwing the heatsink on right now. Okay, so we're still dead in the water with no charge when we did have slow charging. So undoubtedly we're going to have to mess around with that fuel gauge again. That's the only thing I can think. Everything is in place in that area, as far as I know. I'm going to leave this plugged in for a moment. We should have at least seen it give us the battery symbol, but no, dead in the water. Trying to look to see if we're getting anything. Also, what else is in that area? Alright. Well, enough wasting time. Let's get to work on this thing. We did move some components out of the way. Mowed all that stuff right off of there. So I'm going to make sure they're on there connected good. The one was doubtful if it was, but we'll take a second look now. Hello, big truck horn. Time for a break. We need a cold drink. We're gonna get some tea for this. There we go. All right, cold drink. Oh, not my favorite thing to do. Is keep tearing something apart, but it must be done. What are we missing? I think everything is disconnected that need be. Yes, no, maybe. All right, let's take a look at that area again. Because we had, I'm just trying to think. We had slow charging, right? But no fast charging. So working this out, that's the only area we worked in. So there has to be something going on. And this is why we can't sit down, because we can't actually reach the scope that good. We can drop it lower and get a better angle on it. Let's do that. We'll angle it. Yeah, see that one there? That seems a bit far up on that pad. I want to move that back down. And truth be told, it's probably connected, but I want to move it back down. And if we have to, we will. Let's try and look under that fuel gauge. Aha, that could be a problem. See it? See the solder joined together? That might be our problem. So let's lift that off of there and clean that up. Okay, we found our culprit. Check that out, man. How cool is that? Right there. Let me get it in focus. Right there. Those blobs right there. And see how uneven the chip's setting? Without a doubt. There's flux under there, all kinds of crap. And they're connected together, and I'm guaranteed they're not supposed to be. So we're going to go ahead and pull that thing off of there. We're going to try and do it sitting down. I don't normally work sitting down, but we're going to attempt to do it. The problem is I have to tilt the scope way crazy far to work sitting down. So let's see if we can do it. And I'll try and focus it for the screen and not me. Alright, hot air. We're just going to lift it right off. Do we need flux to pull that? There's flux under there. Let's just pull it. Give us some longer tweezers. Let's hope that didn't create more problems by that connecting. That's what I'm worried about. We're going to clean that mess up. And then we got to not fling this chip to eternity like I just did. I got to remember the orientation. I have to back the video up a second on my laptop. Let me do that. And you're getting twisted up. Getting all twisted and acting stupid, cheapo. I'm gonna have to put you away if that's how you're gonna act. Now let's back this video up and see the orientation. Hi, Roger. I didn't notice you popped in there. How are you, my friend? Let's back up just a second. Okay, so the orientation I'm working, the words are right side up. So yeah, as you can see, I made a fine mess out of the fuel gauge. So go ahead and clean that up, throw some fresh solder on those pads, and reflow this beast. What's the chip look like? Don't fling it, just grab it easy and slide it into view of the scope. Chip looks good. We're just going to go for cleaning up. Clean up the board quick here, and yeah. Hope it all works out. You people that are across the mud puddle are savages. Anybody that's up this late. I don't believe it. Alright, so that was a boo-boo, connecting all them pads like that. Let's hope it doesn't cost us in the long run. It could. It very well could. Go around, hitting all them pads, spreading the solder back out. It's not going to be even like reballing it, but I think we'll get it. Except for I pulled that component off. That's great. Get off of the iron before you burn up. Oh, you dummy. What was that? Capacitor? Capacitor. We gotta look for a capacitor out of place, because lifting it with the iron somehow, and it either dropped or when I pulled it off of there, I actually flung it with my tweezers. So let's put the iron back. It's not on the tip. Confirmed. We're going to confirm under here. Definitely not on. What is that? Disaster strikes. Alright, so we got to find a cap. Yeah, I found it. Should be that one right there. Hopefully it didn't destroy it, but if it did, well, lesson learned. We're going to try and put it back. It's got a nice blob of solder connected to it. Let's see if we can't put that back. We didn't rip the feet off yet, so we're going to take and hit it with the iron. Hold it with tweezers, hit it with the iron, and try and pull them blobs off of there real quick. There's part of it gone. Now, is there anything left? I think we're going to be okay. So we'll put that back and then we'll go back to the fuel gauge. So right now, we're going to put this in place and hopefully not fling it to the moon because I don't know the value of it. I'm going to stick it right there and hit it with the hot air. Alright, come on, cheapo, it's time to work again. Let's go, buddy. We're standing back up for a moment for this. Sitting down's good, but I'm just not used to it. It's years of working on stuff. Standing, it's a hard habit to break. Excuse me. So let's try and get... Hey, get over there. What are you thinking? One, we need that. Get out of there. Get away from that thing. We need all that off of there as well. I didn't even see that. Alright. See if that can be pulled into place. I'm going to take and clean that off a little. Just try and dab up some of that flux and then hit it with the iron very quickly to ensure that it's on both ends. It should be on. You never know. That is a big tip to be getting in there. We're probably going to lift something else off. Alright, hot air it is. We're just going to have pressure on it and keep jumping it like that. I'm not changing out to the micro pencil right now. Lazy. We'll just use the hot air. Alright, reconnected for sure. Let it cool. Now we gotta take a look at our fuel gauge. And get that back on. Don't fling it to the moon. It actually doesn't look that bad as far as solder it's on. I'm not even going to try and attempt to hit it with an iron right there. Best results when I've attempted to do that, when adding solder to that, is I always end up scraping that coating off. So lesson learned on that one. We're going to avoid doing that. And we'll put our words right side up and attempt to put this back in place without bridging all the balls together. Alright, we're stuck to the tweezers with some flux. Well, it seems like a good place to be for right now. We'll let that set. Let's take a look here again. I kind of think we should be adding some more solder to that, because you can see there's like the 3 on the left side are high, and then it looks like the 3 across the back are high, but then the 4 in this front corner are lower. So let's get in there and try and even that solder up a little bit. I'm leaving an absolute mess all over the board with fibers. Alright, let's take another look without all the flux in the way. See, it looks like I said, the 3 on the left hand side, the 3 pads. What I'm talking about, if anybody's not sure of the area we're talking about, it's going to be these 3 pads here, and then across the back. Seems like those are all higher, and then this one's kind of has a little height, but these 3 here seem to be a little lower. That's because we're not reballing. We're going to try and get away without reballing this. And yeah, definitely high, 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 high. Not as high, but high. Alright, flux and iron with a little bit of solder. And try and build those up a little and not rip that capacitor off the board this time. don't want a whole lot on the iron. Probably way too much, but let's find out. And we grabbed it again. Son of a bitch, get off of the tweezers. Oh, we should get the micro pencil out and we don't. How many times will we do the same thing? We might have killed it that time, people. Yeah, no, he's dead. Alright, so now we have to find a capacitor of the right value, because that's just a blob of solder. When that iron grabbed it off of there, that actually engulfed it in solder, so getting it back out, all that solder is going to be not a task that's going to happen. Well, or did I lose it? Did it stick? Let's look. No, I didn't lose it. I did scrape it whenever I pulled it. Nice. Okay, so it's right there. I thought I tried to scrape it off quickly when I went across, but I wasn't sure. Okay, that's why I was only finding blobs of solder. So we just have to reclaim that and put it back. What luck. I did try to scrape it across that thing, and I didn't think it worked. I thought it was engulfed by solder and lost. We just have to get it back from here without breaking it loose. Oh. Kudos to you guys that do this shit every day. I could not do it every day. How are we going to get that hot air? Drag it down. Anyhow, actually what we're going to do, we're going to leave that right there and do the fuel gauge and then that. Because if I have to go through on these pads and even them up anymore, I don't want to pull that back off and have any more issues with it. So we're leaving it parked there. We know where it is. It's safe. That looks a little better. It's not very even, but I say we run with it. Alright, fair enough. We might have to pull that down. I'm worried about putting any pressure on it and breaking off the little foot that's on the end of it. So we may have to pull it down off of there. Anyhow, let's we'll actually get it off of there, put it in place. put the fuel gauge in place, and then see what happens. What a spot to hide a capacitor. What luck that it actually caught itself there. Get that stupid fiber out of there. Actually, we're kind of committed to these tweezers right now. Let me take a moment and bend these back straight. I can't work with them where they're apart. Here's what I'm talking about. So see the end? That big gap? We're going to try and put that back. Not perfect by any means, but I think it's going to do the job that we need it to do today. Wish I could get that end to bend just a little. I'm going to say that's our win. Alright, back at it. Did we break that and bump that? Is that what we did? We certainly did. Well, at least didn't rip the foot off the little one. Just a piece off the big one. Go back in place. I like it. And finally, we have to figure out which way this goes. Words are right side up, so that's 100% wrong. We have to come in from the other way. Like so. And this is going to be a tricky one, I believe. At least for me, but get it in there, get it lined up, and so it seems like our initial nudge on that is just too much. I'm gonna say right there. Let's go for it. Try and get these both back on. That fuel gauge went fairly crooked there. There. As long as it didn't join itself on a couple of those pads, we'll be good. And this guy, he could pop in there at any point in time. Let's see what it turned out like. Please, not the same situation. It's a lot closer to the board. I was gonna say that's, wow, we got the edges sticking out from under the fuel gauge, but that's not it. It's there. Alright. And focus. Thank you. I believe we're connected on that cap. I never got to move this. Where my tweezers are. This one here, I wanted to move him down slightly, but he's definitely connected. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. A little close there, but we'll survive. Let's put a drop on, see how bad it sizzles. It's not. That's perfect. Good time to clean it. I don't believe for a second those are going to be connected, but we'll try it. Right now we're going to flood it with some IPA in this area and just keep scrubbing. Alright, how hot is it? Not hot. Okay, so if this gets us back to the state where we were, that's good. I can pick back up tomorrow. I'm doing something wrong. The board actually goes like that, so correct orientation of the board. Let's go. Let's see if we got back to slow charging. If we did, then we know it was nothing to do with the fuel gauge. I don't think it was to begin with, but worth a shot. I think more than likely it's going to be, I don't know if it would be M92 or BQ. I'm not sure. I don't have many of these devices under my belt, especially with problems other than minor problems or like physical damage. Look, man, get out here. Thank you. But always willing to learn and keep trying, going forward, solving one problem after the other. Get one down, on to the next. Come on, man. I don't remember ordering the 90-degree offset tweezers, like them only working 90 degrees off from where I'm holding them. It always seems that they're just slightly off from where I want them to be functioning. About a 90-degree right angle. Alright, that's in. Let's go for this one. Do a quick Franken build to see if we got slow charge back. With any luck, we did. With no luck, we got to do it all over again. What the hell is going on here? Also, I'm probably massively overdoing this franken build each time I do it. I don't know what stuff is necessary to get the system to at least charge and then boot. Obviously, you need everything for it to function like normal, but to just get our little battery status indicator. The heatsink has no physical connection, like other than being screwed down. That's why I'm not putting that on. The heat spreader or whatever. That's why we're not doing that one as well. But if we get her turned on, we will add that to it. Alright, looks good. Let's go ahead and get our battery plugged in. Gotta be close, is it? Well, yes it is. Alright. Let's find out. Back or dead? Alright, we're back to charging at least. Let's get it turned on. Oh, hold on now. Okay, it rebooted, but it jumped up. Now, is it going to fast charge? I'm guessing no. But it did switch to, of course it turned on, but it switched from the 0.4 amps to the 0.66 amps. Although it should we should jump up to a fast charging state way, way sooner than what it is here. I mean, come on, man, we're plugged directly in, so I'm going to look around and see what it is responsible for fast charging. And then I still do have to take a look at this side of the board. I don't want to keep this thing on a super long time. Let's go ahead and just pop this on here because the fan is spinning. The system is telling the fan to spin, so we're going to mount that down real quick to at least transfer some heat out. So we'll throw 2 screws on and leave it at a slow charge status and pick it up another day. There's 1 and 2. We'll put the third one in, just lots of fun. Alright. Transferring the heat up. Yeah, and we're still stuck at slow charging, so that's got to be a M92 or possibly BQ thing. Has to be. Right? Right. Just agree with it. Say it's right. Fuck yeah, no, I'm not doing no more today here on this. We got it dead, and then we got it back. So let's flip it over because these are reversible connectors. We'll flip it and see what's what with it. Yeah, I'm sorry. That should bump with it, especially with it being on. With it being on, it should jump up to fast charging a lot sooner. And we're using an actual switch charger, so that's even more so. I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah, to be continued tomorrow. What time is it? Yeah, it's 7:03. I'm gonna go home. We could pull it apart quick and. I mean, what do I try? Reflow on M92? If not that, pop it off of there and put the new one on. I did lay the new one out. We have it here, so we are ready to go. If that is the case, we have a new one. But I think, yeah, we can safely end it there for the evening. People's computers going to sleep. But, yeah. So we went from slow charging with it on to it not turning on at all, not taking a charge, nothing dead, back to slow charging. So the fuel gauge was not the issue. Lesson learned there, but something well worth checking. To be continued with M92 and possibly BQ. Yeah. Stop back again another day, people. Have a good evening. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to figure out how to stop this.